What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and welcome to another episode of our First Down Training show. Today, we're going to be talking about some advice for players who maybe want to quit football, who are thinking about quitting football. I've been there. I've gone through the exact same thing that you guys are going through, so this is some advice that helped me get through it and some advice that I could tell you through my many years of football experience. And then we're going to be answering some questions that you guys left on a previous episode of this show, so I appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's get started. So, guys, I think, honestly, no matter what level of skill that you are, no matter how old you are, I think we've all maybe thought about this before. What would it be like if I quit football? Like, I'm discouraged, I'm not where I'm at, I want to quit football. Whatever camp that you're in, I think we all have thought about this at some point. And it's completely normal. Like, football, like, the reason why I love football and the reason why I will always advocate for football for younger kids, and my own kids one day when I have them, I will make sure that they play football. Even if they hate it, I'll make them do it for just at least a year. And I don't want to say make them do it, but when they're younger, you kind of got to make them do it anyways. But because football is hard. It's very, very tough. You're wearing pads, it's hot as hell during practice, you're sweating, it's physical, it's hard. And doing hard things in life makes you just so much more mentally tough than the rest of the population. You know what I mean? Like when you see guys, like I see it all the time, right? Like I do like Muay Thai right now, which is like a form of like kickboxing, if you will. And you know, like we'll train and there'll be a group of guys and there'll be certain guys that will like quit like halfway through the workout, right? They're like, oh, I'm tired, I need a breather, I need to sit down. I'm like, what? Like, wait, what? You're not gonna finish the workout? Like, what's going on? Like, and that's like the type of attitude that football gives you, right? Because it's hard and you gotta finish what you started. Now, I'm going to give you kind of a brief explanation, and some of you may have heard this before, on why like I wanted to quit football when I was a player. It was my junior year of high school. I wanted to quit and I wanted to be a UFC fighter. Like, honest to God, that's what I wanted to do. I'm glad I didn't do that. But anyways, like, because you guys would be able to see me get knocked out on TV. So maybe some of you want to see that. I don't know. But anyways, it was a very, very tough time for me because, you know, I worked immensely hard. I was one of those guys that I was a really, really hard-working player. From the time that I was, you know, started playing, which was like, I want to say like second or third grade, all the way up until I got finished with my career in college, I was always that dude that was going to outwork everybody. I can confidently say that I was always the hardest worker in the room, right? And that doesn't mean like I was just doing what the coaches had me doing at, you know, at lift and at practice. I did those drills. No, like I'm the guy who's staying an hour later after practice. I'm the guy who would go home, do my homework, and then I would train some more. You know what I mean? I was constantly doing something to try to improve my game. I know there was nobody working harder than me at any level of football that I played. And that brought me a lot of success. But that, you know, when you work your ass off like that for so long and you're not where you want to be in terms of play time and you get started over in terms of some political stuff, that's very, very discouraging. And you almost want to just throw your hands up and say, man, what is all this even for? Because that's what happened to me. I was going into my junior year of high school. We had a new coach and I was super pumped because I was like, man, new coach, new opportunity. It's going to be all based on merit. The best guys are going to play because he doesn't know any of us yet. He doesn't have any built up relationships with us. Anyways, the quarterback I was competing with, his dad was the athletic director and he obviously hired the head coach. So one day that athletic director was drinking a little bit. I think he has a drinking problem, but anyways, that's besides the point. And him and his friends were at this bar where my dad was and his friends, right? My dad was just there, just hanging out. I think it was like a birthday party or something. And he overheard this athletic director bragging about hiring this new coach because the new coach agreed to play his son. And this is like during spring ball. So like we're still like technically like competing. Well, he was getting a lot of the first team reps. So it was kind of even. It was probably like a 6-4 split, whatever, right? And spring ball is the time to figure out what the identity is and who the team is. And I hear this in the beginning of the spring ball. My dad told me, he thought about not telling me, but I'm glad he did. And I was like, man, dude, what the hell, dude? I literally was ready to quit the next day because I'm like, this is a completely stacked deck. I have no chance. No matter what I do, this guy got the job so he could start this one guy's team. It was literally an agreement that they made. I will give you this job and you will be our guy if you agree to play my son. What am I supposed to do in that situation? So I literally thought about quitting. I was done. There was literally a day where I got home from practice and my parents thought there was something wrong with me because I didn't go in the backyard and start like training and working on my game and whatever. And they were like, what's wrong with you? And I was literally dead set on quitting. I was going to go into that office the next day and quit. And so my parents sat me down and they're like, listen, you're not going to quit. Like the amount of money and time that we have invested into your football career, you can't quit in that lens. But they also told me like, listen, our family doesn't quit. Like, that's not what we do. And I was raised in a very, like, you know, working class type family, middle class. We were not wealthy. We were definitely not poor. But, you know, my mother had a business and she lost that business in a fire. And, you know, my dad was a dude who went to the same job every single day for 40 years, got up at frickin' 4 or 5 a.m. and did the same thing every single day to make sure that we were taken care of, especially when my mother lost her business. So that's just not what our family does. And they explained that to me. And they're like, you're not going to quit. Like, if you quit, like, I forget what they held against me, but they were just like, you're not going to do it. And so I had to tough it out. And I had to go through a whole season knowing that I was better than this player. right? Knowing that I was better than the guy in front of me. And it was clear. Like there were parent meetings where parents would be yelling at our head coach to tell him to play me. And to this day, that head coach doesn't even go to parent meetings. He's still the head coach. He's been the head coach for, I want to say, like 10 years maybe. He still doesn't go to the parent meetings because of that one experience that he had. And I've had other coaches that come up to me now in my adult life and apologize. They go, hey man, listen, dude, you were way better. Like, we're sorry. And so like, that's, you know, like a form of vindication at the same time. You know, it makes me feel good, whatever, but it's not going to change what happened. But the reason why I tell you that story is because some of you might be in that situation. You're not playing. You know, things are hard. You've dealt with injuries. You got another injury. You want to quit football, whatever. And what I want to get across to you is that, like, as young men, or just men in general, you can't quit what you started. Because as soon as you let that quitting in, you're going to quit in other aspects of your life. And I'm just trying to be real with you. Like, what are you going to do one day? Quit on your family? Let's say you're in a relationship, you're married, you have a kid, and things are hard. Things aren't really good with your wife. Like, you guys are arguing a lot. You know, whatever the case may be. Are you just going to quit and walk out? And some of you might say that's different. Some of you might go, well, listen, I would never do that. You know, I might quit football, but I would never quit on my family. I'd never quit on my kids, whatever. And maybe that's the case. But the thing is that you have a higher probability of quitting in other areas of your life if you quit at one thing, because you're accepting that behavior. You're making an excuse for why you did what you did. And like, what's the alternative, you guys? Like, if you quit football, what are you going to do? Just sit around and sulk? It might be cool for a week because you don't have practice, but then you see the team get a little closer. You see friendships being a little bit stronger, and you're kind of on the outskirts. And that's really what happens. Like, I know lots of guys that my freshman and sophomore year I was really good friends with. They quit football, like all of a sudden you really don't have that much in common. All of a sudden you really kind of fall out of touch with them. They have to find a new type of friend group because you're with all your friends who play football and you have that common ground and that common interest. So just not from that perspective, but like, what's the alternative to quitting? You have to see things through, and you have to see hard things through. Who knows, if I would have quit football and I accepted that, like, I probably wouldn't have been a UFC fighter. Like, so I probably would have quit on that eventually. And then who knows, maybe I wanted to start a business like what I'm doing right now, like making video. There would be none of this if I would have quit football, because you guys wouldn't listen to somebody who quit football their junior year. And there would be none of this. And maybe I wanted to start another business. And as soon as things got hard and I had that same feeling of, man, things aren't going my way, you know what I would do? I would quit. Right? So like, you just don't want to be that guy. As a man, you have to finish what you started. And if you're super unhappy and you hate football and it makes you pissed off, you're sad, you whatever, you don't want to go to practice, you despise it, and at the end of the season comes around and you're like, man, I don't want to do that, I want to go do something else. Okay, fine. But at least you saw it through to the end, because that's something that a lot of people don't do nowadays. Everybody wants to play the victim nowadays. I am not successful because of XYZ. And they don't go, I'm not successful because of this. So what can I do to make sure that I get out of this situation, or find a way to make it work and solve this problem? People don't do that enough. Like, I can't stand, you know, like the different things in like society, even from like a political lens, like, oh, you know, like, we're not wealthy because of this. You know, I live in like a low income area because of this. And yes, that's true. And yes, you might have some disadvantages that cause you to be in that situation, like systematically or whatever, however your view is on that, right? And that's totally cool and that's totally fine. But what are you going to do about it? Like, are you just going to sit there and sulk for the rest of your life? Or are you going to be like, okay, this is the situation I'm in. How can I get out of this situation? Has it been done before? Yes. Okay, cool. What did they do? Okay, cool. Maybe I could do this. And you try to solve the problem, and you have that problem solving skill. You know, that's all about dealing with adversity. You guys, like, you know the amount of adversity I had to deal with in that situation? You know the amount of adversity I have to deal with when I wanted to start like the biggest training platform possible, which is what we have. There's nobody that even comes close to the amount of reach that we have, the amount of camps that we do, anything. You know the amount of adversity I had to deal with that? I had trainers who were like, you know, public figures at the time making videos saying how I was a POS and terrible guy and all this stuff. And I'm like, you don't even know me, bro. Like, but they're doing that to try to discredit what I'm doing. That's adversity. And if I would have let the quitting in early on in my life, guess what I would have done? I'd probably been, man, this is too hard. Maybe I should quit. You know, no. You don't do that. As a man, you don't do that, because you have to see things through. And one of the biggest skills that you could develop in life is being able to deal with adversity and being able to deal with hard things. That's, again, why I love football, because it's hard, it's challenging, it makes you learn a lot about yourself. Because like, I think a lot of people, like, and there's a great quote that I heard like Joe Rogan say, right? Like, failure, like, what you do with failure defines who you are. Massive failure to me was not being able to play my junior year and getting very minimal play time. Because like, I'm like, man, I want to go play D1. I want to go play college. I need 2 years of film to do that, right? Like, that's generally what happens. I ended up getting a scholarship with only 1 year of film, but I had to work so freaking hard just to make sure that that 1 year of film that I got was going to be that good to where a team would want to give me a scholarship offer, right? And I was able to achieve that goal. But at the same time, it's like, that taught me a lot, man, because what you do with failure and what you do with loss determines who you are as a person. Are you going to be that dude that's just like, everything happens to me? I'm a victim in every situation of my life. And I know plenty of people like that. I'll tell you this, they're pretty unhappy. I know plenty of people, actually I don't know plenty of people because it's uncommon. And I want you guys to be uncommon. I don't want you guys to be common and be like everybody else because it's very easy to quit. It's very easy to just sleep in. It's very easy to not go to practice after school and just go home, do your homework, watch TV, play video games, whatever the hell you guys do, right? Like that's very easy and that's very common. And a lot of people want you to be that way. They put you in this little box where it's like, you need to, well, that's what everybody else does. Like me personally, like I foregoed my entire, like I'm only 25, right? Like, but from the time I was 18 to 25, like what are all my friends doing at that time? They're going out in college, they're partying, they're doing all this stuff, and they're like, Grant, you need to go out and live a little, you need to do this, you need to do that. And it's like, people want you to be common. They want you to be like everybody else. Oh, football's really hard. You don't like it, dude? Just quit, man. Go do this or go do that or go spend more time with your friends. You'll have more free time. They want you to be common. People want you to be common, and common people want you to be common because it makes them feel better about themselves. They don't want you to be uncommon because they can't look at you and go, man, he's doing that. Maybe I should be doing that. And that's a tough conversation to have with themselves, right? And then they start, they want to make excuses for themselves. And that's the problem, you guys. So like, if things are hard, I'm trying to get across, you don't quit. As a man, you can't quit. You have to see things through, because if you learn how to battle with that adversity, I am backed up against a wall and I got to fight my way out of this situation. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about your character. You learn a lot about what makes you tick as a person, because it's like, maybe you use something to motivate you. Maybe it's something that a friend said. Maybe it's something that a coach said and you use that. Those are skills that you're going to have for the rest of your life. Like I remember I had like that athletic director. To this day, can't stand the guy. I don't hate him anymore. At least I tell myself that. But back then I hated him. Like I had this just burning thing in my stomach. Like I freaking want to prove that guy so wrong. And the next year I want to be so freaking good. And that motivated me, you guys. And I carry that on every day in my life. Like I'll have somebody who will say something about me on social media, a non-person, you know what I mean? Like a guy who doesn't, it's probably a bot anyways, but I'll screenshot it and that gets me through the day because I'm like, okay, do you want that guy to be right or do you want to prove yourself right? Right? And those types of lessons that you learn about yourself and what makes you tick is why I'm telling you not quit. Because it's just, you gotta understand the lessons you learn from dealing with hard things, the lessons you learn from adversity will help you out throughout the rest of your life. One day you're gonna be in a situation where maybe you have a wife and you have kids and maybe the finances aren't good. And a lesser man would just quit and just bail out. You're not. Because you understand what it takes to battle yourself out of a situation where all the cards are stacked against you, okay? So that's what I want to get across to you guys. If you're thinking about quitting, don't do it. I'm telling you right now, you're going to be much better off down the road, because I'm not trying to get you guys ready for the next year of football. I'm not trying to get you ready for next 3 years of football. I'm trying to get you ready for the next stage of your life. That's something that I've tried to change a lot with the videos that we make, especially these longer form podcast type videos, is that I want you guys to be able to take these lessons from these videos and hope it resonates to where you become better men, not just better football players, okay? So I hope that makes sense, you guys. Now, fellas, we're gonna get into some questions that you guys left on a previous episode of this show, but if you are a quarterback and wide receiver watching this and you wanna train with myself and my staff of coaches this offseason, you guys, we're gonna be traveling out to 15 different cities across the country for 2-day long camps. So guys, these camps that we do, it's not 1 million people. We limit spots. We have small groups so we can work with you guys individually. We wanna be able to have you make a mistake, correct you on the mistake, make sure you do it right the second time because that's how you get better. And it's a very detailed process, and that's what we pride ourselves on. So guys, if you want to come out to a camp like that, make sure you go to that very first link in the description below. That's where all the information is. That's where all the states are that we're going to be traveling to as well. But guys, spots are filling up. Like we're probably going to be sold out in all of our camps at least 2 to 3 months in advance of the actual camp date. So guys, we're going all across the country, West Coast, Midwest, East Coast, everywhere. I guarantee we're coming to a state near you, Florida, Texas, all that. So guys, very first link in that description below. We'd love to see you there, okay? So now, let's get into some of your guys' questions from a previous episode. You guys know the deal. If you've been following our YouTube channel for a while, we answer every single question that we get on our YouTube videos, and then the best ones we feature on an episode of this show. So guys, if you have questions, stuff you want to ask me, do not hesitate. Go to that comment section below and leave your question. I'd be happy to answer it and feature it on our next episode, okay? So guys, let me pull this up real quick. So, question Number 1 from Landerson1226. How do I get my coach to notice me over the other running backs? I'm going my hardest in my reps, but still don't seem to get there. The key is going to be consistency, right? So like if you're in practice and you feel like you're not getting notoriety, you know, it's not going to happen overnight, right? You have one good practice that really doesn't mean anything. You have 2, 3, 4, and you start stacking weeks on top of each other with good days in practice where you're outperforming the starter, you're doing well in scout team, you're playing special teams, maybe even you're playing defense. You just need to make sure that you are just consistently outperforming the guys that are ahead of you, and you'll eventually get a shot. You just need that opportunity, and then when you get that opportunity, you got to make the most of the opportunity. I know plenty of people that get the opportunity and they screw up the opportunity. So you have to make sure consistently every day you are chipping away if you want to get more play time, okay? So I hope that answers your question, man. Thank you for asking that. Next question from Chris Deal Velez. Question, how do I stay calm when I get hit hard? I mean, honestly, if you're taking a big shot, most important thing is that your feet don't stop. Obviously, you have to be low. In football, they say it all the time, the low man's going to win. So if you're running, you get contact, keep your feet going, and make sure your mindset is I'm delivering a hit, not taking a hit. Sometimes you can't do anything about it. Maybe you get blindsided or whatever, cool, you know, but like, just be calm. Catch your breath, focus on your breathing if you get popped really good. Like what I like to do is I like to do something called like 2-second inhale, 2-second like exhale. So if I get hit really hard, I'm just focusing on my breath. I'm not thinking about the pain. I'm just going 1, 2, count in my head, 2 exhale count. Now that might help you deal with it as well. Okay, so I appreciate you asking that, man. Thank you for the consistent support of this channel. We see you commenting on our stuff all the time, so we appreciate it, okay? Now, next question from Songs of the Day. I'm a 5'5" wide receiver freshman. Is there anything you would recommend? So if you're a short receiver, there's really 3 things I recommend you do to help you stand out. Number 1, speed. If you're short and slow, tough sell, right? So make sure you work on your speed and your quickness. Number 2, you gotta have good hands. The worry is you're going over the middle, you catch the ball, you get popped, ball's gonna be out. So gotta have good speed, gotta have good hands, and then football IQ. I think a lot of times for receivers that are smaller, it's harder to like force your routes, right? So like you have head up press and you gotta run a dig route. Like you gotta understand that like me just taking off and running the dig is gonna be good. I'm gonna get manhandled. So I gotta give him some type of move. Maybe I release outside based on how the DB plays. You got to know how to run routes versus different coverages, and having that high football IQ will make you much better off if you're undersized, okay? So guys, appreciate everybody tuning in. That does it for this episode of our show, but I hope this is able to give you some value. Hope you guys learned some stuff from this episode. And again, guys, if you have questions, do not hesitate. Post those in the comment section below, but we'll see you guys next time.